let's talk about the starting phase. Like, what would you recommend to people to start off with to really head in the right
Yeah.
direction?
So the framework I work with for any goal setting, whether I'm doing it for myself or a client, is that goals need to be the acronym SMART. They need to be specific, they need to be measurable, they need to be achievable, they need to be realistic, and they need to be time sensitive or have a timeline. So for a specific goal, I'll just take weight loss because I know that's a big one for a lot of people, especially with January 1st. Weight loss isn't a great because it's not a great goal because it's not specific enough. If you said I want to lose 20 pounds, that's very specific. That's a specific number. It's measurable. How much weight do you want to lose per month? Is that 2 pounds a month? Is it going to be 5? What's a comfortable, and then also a realistic number? Like, what can you actually do? That where you don't feel hungry, where you're not over exercising. What lifestyle changes can you make to make that possible? Achievable. I think achievable and realistic really go hand in hand, because if something's not realistic, it's not going to be achievable. And you want to set yourself up for success. You're not going to be a new person overnight. So what are little tweaks and little changes you can make along the way to help yourself make a realistic and achievable goal? Is that going to be that you're going to eat more green vegetables? Are you going to hire a personal trainer? Those are just some examples that I've heard, but I mean, you are always the expert on yourself, and you'll know what's going to work best for you. And then the final piece is the timeline. So timeline isn't just about scheduling. It's really, how long do you want this goal to last, or how long do you want it to take before you achieve it? Does it need to be 6 months? Does it need to be a year? Does it need to be 3 months? I always caution people, if they're in the middle of a big grief cycle, or if they've had any significant life transitions, they started a new job, give yourself extra time, because you need to give yourself some grace and be realistic with yourself. It's hard to heal, and it's hard to make big changes if you're grieving the loss of something big, whether that was a former career, whether that was an actual loss of a pet or a person. So really, it's just being realistic with yourself and the time that it takes to achieve it.
Let's say, I think a lot of how you try to do something requires a lot of self-discipline too, right? Like time management, organization, all those things. Let's say someone wants to get on that path like you're recommending through the way in which you help them, but they really have a hard time, because there's some people out there that like have great ideas, but starting it and getting going and staying with it is quite difficult. How do you
Sure.
recommend certain accountability partners, for example, for people who just are bad on the execution part of things? Or how do you help them ensure that they stay on track with those type of goals you're talking about?
Having an accountability partner can be one way of having big success and just being accountable, because that other person is going to ask you in a week or later in the month, like, how you're going on your goals. So accountability partners are great. I also think getting a mentor. I know life and business coaches are also very popular, and that's a booming field. So getting a mentor or a coach to help you can be a real asset. Sometimes it's helpful to have somebody who's been on the path and they're a little farther down the line than you are, and they can share their insights, their words of wisdom. They can give very specific feedback and encouragement to you, and maybe even like show you the ropes so that you don't have the same stumbling points they've had. That, I think, is a big asset that can go underrated. Also, be realistic with yourself. Is it possible to do something every week and every day, or do we need to just slow down the approach? Because oftentimes people start very excited when something's new, and after a little bit of time, that honeymoon phase wears off, and then it becomes, this just feels like a grind. This feels like I'm not where I want to be. And then there becomes that self-defeating piece of like, when is this going to come to fruition for me? When I think it's also important to take a step back and look at how far you've come on your goals, because oftentimes we're so quick to go for the end goal, the end achievement, that we don't always take a moment to pause and look at the progress that we've made and look at how far we have come.